Most men walk into a woman's life like beggars. Subconsciously, they ask to be liked, accepted, chosen. They seek validation in her words, in her looks, in her replies. But what they don't realize is that the moment you enter that dynamic, you've already lost. Because the man who turns her on, the man she fantasizes about, isn't the one who constantly tries to please her. It's the one who's willing to walk away. See, one of the most powerful psychological facts about attraction is this: women are far more aroused by a man's emotional self-control than by his emotional availability. That doesn't mean you have to be cold or distant. It means that the man who knows where he stands, who lives by a code, who doesn't break under pressure, that man becomes an emotional mirror she craves. So let's break down the first boundary. And I'm not talking about a manipulative tactic. I'm talking about a masculine standard that, when you live by it, shifts the energy in every interaction you have with women. The first boundary is this: you don't tolerate disrespect, even when it's subtle. Now, most guys think disrespect is loud. They wait for a woman to curse at them or scream in their face to realize it. But the truth is, the most toxic forms of disrespect are quiet, passive, subtle. It's when she rolls her eyes when you speak. It's when she mocks your ambition with a fake smile. It's when she forgets to text back after you planned the date. These are micro-tests. Not because she's evil, but because biologically, a woman needs to know that the man in front of her can protect his frame. You become more attractive the moment you calmly walk away from disrespect. Not with drama, not with revenge, but with self-respect. Neil Strauss in The Game talks about how mystery and respect are foundational triggers of female desire. When you establish that you won't stick around when you're not respected, you instantly shift from available to unpredictable, from nice guy to high value. The reason this turns women on is deeper than ego. It tells her, this man is grounded. He doesn't chase chaos, he invites peace. And because the feminine energy is chaos by nature, it naturally orbits around the masculine calm. Here's what most men get wrong. They think that walking away equals losing her. But in reality, every time you enforce this boundary, you plant a seed of obsession. She starts to ask herself, why didn't he react? Why didn't he fight for my attention? Who is he really? That mental loop you triggered is what creates emotional addiction, and it works in real life. I've seen men reclaim their power in relationships just by enforcing this single standard. I've coached guys who stopped getting ghosted, who saw exes come back, who finally started being treated with the admiration they always wanted. And it didn't come from pretending. It came from setting this boundary. If you can't treat me with respect, you don't get access to me. Now, let's move into the second boundary. And this one goes against everything modern culture tells men to do. But it's exactly why it works. The second boundary is this: you don't sacrifice your mission for a woman. Let's get something straight. Your purpose comes first. Your vision, your discipline, your grind. These are not things you compromise to make someone else feel secure. The moment a woman feels that your time, your energy, your attention can be bought with affection or sex, she starts to lose attraction. Women are biologically wired to be drawn to men who have direction. It's been this way for thousands of years. Even evolutionary psychologists like David Buss have shown that a man's ambition, dominance over his time, and clarity of mission are massive arousal triggers. When she sees that you're willing to say no to her in order to say yes to your mission, something wild happens in her brain. She feels safe. Ironically, even though you're prioritizing your goals over her, she starts to chase you harder. Let me break this down. Imagine you've got a project you're working on, your dream business, a fitness goal, a creative hustle, and then she texts you, "Hey, want to hang out tonight?" You like her, she's beautiful, but tonight is your scheduled deep work session. Most guys would reply instantly, drop everything, show up with flowers. Why? Because they're operating from scarcity. They're afraid that if they don't say yes, she'll lose interest. But the high-value man? He responds later, maybe an hour, maybe two. And when he replies, he's honest. "Can't tonight, got something I need to focus on. Let's do another day." That's it. No apologies. No over-explaining. You know what happens next? If she's a woman worth having, she respects it. She's intrigued. She starts wondering, what is he working on that matters more than me? Her curiosity intensifies. Her attraction deepens. And she starts to realize something vital. She's not the center of your world. You are. And that's what creates polarity. Masculine energy moves forward. Feminine energy moves toward what moves forward. And when she sees that your life has momentum, she wants to be part of it. Not because you made her your focus, but because she wants to feel what it's like to be with a man who has focus. Now, some people might say, but what if she feels neglected? Here's the thing. A woman who needs you to be constantly available isn't ready for a real man. She's not craving love, she's craving control. And if you give her that control early on, you'll never get your power back. But if you hold your ground, if you let her feel that you're a man who leads his own life, then you become the challenge, the puzzle, the experience she wants to earn. And let me be crystal clear, this boundary isn't about being selfish, it's about being selective. You're not saying no to her because she's not worthy, you're saying yes to your path. And the more rooted you are in your purpose, the more she feels like she's in the presence of a man who won't be swayed by emotion, lust, or temporary pleasure. That's the kind of man who makes her feel alive. Here's something most men never realize. A woman doesn't fall for what you say, she falls for what you withhold. It's not your attention that hooks her, it's your ability to control it. And that leads us to the third boundary. You control access to your emotional world. Listen carefully. We live in a time where men are constantly told to be vulnerable, to express everything, to share their feelings all the time. And while emotional intelligence is powerful, what most guys miss is that mystery is a deeper aphrodisiac than vulnerability. Not because you're hiding, but because you're guarding something of value. When a man has boundaries around who gets to experience his inner world, his fears, his struggles, his passion, his fire, he becomes rare. And women are magnetically drawn to what is rare. Here's the psychological truth. Emotional self-containment signals strength. The man who doesn't blurt out every insecurity, every frustration, every random emotion, he communicates control. And that control? That's exactly what the feminine energy is searching for. Because the feminine is emotional chaos. It swirls, it changes, it flows. And when it meets a masculine presence that's steady, centered, unmoved, it melts into it. Now, this doesn't mean you become a robot. It means your emotions are not free for all. You don't trauma dump on a girl you just met. You don't seek comfort or reassurance from someone who hasn't earned that level of access. You let your character speak first. You let your silence say more than your stories. Remember this. When a woman senses that you don't need to share to feel seen, she starts craving to be the one you eventually open up to. But only when you decide, only when the time is right. And that delay, that anticipation, it activates a deep psychological trigger in her mind. If this man values his emotional energy that much, it must be powerful. You become the prize, and not because you told her your wounds, but because you show her that even in your silence, there's depth. Even in your pauses, there's gravity. That's the essence of masculine presence. That's what stirs her curiosity, her desire, her respect. Now let's get into the fourth boundary, and this one will separate boys from men instantly. You do not tolerate being a backup option. This one's brutal, because most guys don't even realize they've been placed in the maybe category until it's too late. They chase, they text, they wait, all while she's entertaining someone else, or worse, using them for emotional support until the guy she really wants texts back. But here's the truth. Women test to see how easily you'll give up your position. And if you don't have this boundary, you'll always be the just-in-case guy. The plan B, the emotional crutch. A man with self-worth doesn't compete. He doesn't audition. He observes. He listens. And when he senses that he's not being prioritized, he exits. No drama. No begging. No games. Just a calm decision. I don't do maybe. And here's why this turns women on. Certainty. In a world full of men who'll bend, wait, and beg just for a chance. The man who says, I'm not here to be one of your options. I'm the only option, or I'm out. He's the one who haunts her thoughts. Because he's not playing. He's not trying to impress. He's not stuck in outcome. He's living from a place of deep internal alignment. And that energy is rare. Here's the paradox. The moment you refuse to be a backup, you start becoming unforgettable. You show her that your time, your attention, your presence, those are luxuries, not entitlements. I've seen this play out with countless men. They stop chasing women who send mixed signals. They stop investing in flaky conversations. They stop being the nice guy who's always available. And what happens? Women come back, stronger, more curious, more committed, because the man who can walk away is the man they want to follow. There's a story I always remember. One of my clients had a long-time crush on a woman who kept him in limbo. They'd talk, then she'd disappear. Then she'd come back when things didn't work out with someone else. And he always picked up the pieces, until one day he didn't. He told her, "I like you, I respect you, but I'm not going to keep showing up when I'm not being treated like a priority. So I'm stepping back. No hard feelings." 2 weeks later, she messaged him again. This time, different. No games. No delay. She apologized, asked to see him. And from that point, the dynamic flipped, because she now saw him as a man who values himself more than her attention. And that made her want him more than ever. So don't be afraid to draw that line. If you ever feel you're being kept around just in case, step back. Not to punish, but to protect your energy, to reclaim your value, to remind yourself that you're the chooser, not the chosen. Because women don't fall in love with availability. They fall in love with conviction. There's something magnetic about a man who doesn't flinch when a woman tests him. A man who doesn't explain himself, who doesn't justify his standards, who simply is. And that's where the fifth boundary comes in. You don't explain your standards, you live them. This one is subtle, but deadly effective. Most men talk too much. They explain what they want, why they deserve respect, how they should be treated, as if saying it makes it real. But the truth is, in the world of seduction, words don't anchor respect. Behavior does. When a man moves through life unapologetically aligned with his values, when he doesn't need her approval to validate his decisions, that creates a visceral shift in her perception. She senses that he's different, unshakable, that she can't manipulate the frame because he is the frame. Think about it like this. If you're constantly telling a woman you want loyalty, but then you tolerate flakiness, her subconscious labels you as insecure. You say one thing, you do another. The inconsistency kills attraction. But if instead, without saying a word, you stop texting when she goes cold, you stop investing when her energy turns shallow, and you move forward with your life without complaint, that silence is a statement. Women are hypersensitive to incongruence. She'll pick up on whether your words and actions match. So when you set a standard and enforce it without debate, you ignite a deeper layer of attraction. Because you're not trying to persuade her to comply, you're giving her a chance to align. And here's the best part. When a man refuses to explain his standards, the woman doesn't feel pushed. She feels pulled. Pulled toward understanding him, pulled toward rising to his level, pulled toward the masculine container he has built with clarity and conviction. That's what masculine leadership looks like. Not barking orders, not giving ultimatums, but quietly embodying a standard so clearly, so unapologetically, that it inspires her to elevate or walk away. Either way, you stay rooted. Either way, you win. Now, the sixth and final boundary isn't just about her. It's about you. You don't outsource your sense of worth to her interest. This one's brutal because it requires radical honesty. A lot of men measure their value by female attention. If she texts back, they feel good. If she flirts, they feel confident. If she ignores them, they spiral. Their internal state is at the mercy of her reaction. But here's the truth. The moment your self-esteem is linked to her validation, you're no longer leading the dynamic. You're following it. And women sense it. They feel the desperation behind the compliments. They feel the emotional dependency behind every good morning text. They feel the insecurity behind every anxious double text. And they're turned off by it. But when a man is internally validated, when he doesn't rely on women to feel valuable, he emits a completely different energy. It's calm, centered, powerful, because he's not in the game to win her. He's in the game to express himself fully, to share his world, to choose a woman who aligns, not to chase one who resists. This is what the greats in seduction, guys like Zan Parian, or even Mystery from the Game, understood deeply. The most magnetic men are those who walk into a room already complete. They don't need anything from a woman. They offer an experience. And that shift, from "please like me" to "I already like me," is the foundation of irresistible confidence. Let me give you a psychological truth that rewires the way you see female attraction. A woman doesn't fall for the man who wants her the most. She falls for the man who needs her the least. That doesn't mean you act aloof or fake detachment. It means you've built your self-worth on something deeper than attention. You've built it on results, on discipline, on mastery, on the quiet pride of knowing who you are, what you bring, and what you're not willing to sacrifice for approval. I remember working with a guy who was stuck in a loop. Every time he started dating someone, he'd shift his schedule. He'd abandon his fitness goals. He'd change plans just to be available. And it worked, temporarily. But then the same pattern. The woman would lose interest, ghost, fade out. Why? Because she didn't want another man orbiting around her. She wanted a man who had his own gravity, who she could orbit around. And the moment he stopped bending for approval, the moment he started treating his own time, his own peace, his own standards as sacred, that's when he became magnetic again. Not because he chased less, but because he needed nothing. And that, right there, is the secret ingredient behind every seductive man you've ever admired. He doesn't operate from need. He operates from overflow. He gives, but never begs. He receives, but never clings. He values connection, but never sacrifices self-respect for it. He is, in every sense of the word, the chooser. So if you've made it this far, there's a reason. Deep down, you're not just curious about attraction. You're ready to reclaim your power, to stop playing by rules that never served you, to stop shrinking to be liked, and start expanding to be respected. You don't need to become someone else. You just need to remember who the hell you were before the world told you to chase approval, before you were taught to be nice instead of strong, before you believed that attention meant value. The boundaries we've covered aren't walls to keep women out. They're filters that reveal the ones who are truly drawn to your essence. When you live by them, not only do women feel a deeper, more primal attraction to you, you feel different too. More grounded, more focused, more masculine. Because this isn't about manipulating anyone, it's about mastering yourself. Now, if this message hit you where it needed to, if something inside you shifted, even just a little, then I've got a simple request. Don't keep it to yourself. Drop a comment. Share what boundary hit hardest. What moment in this video woke something up in you? Or even better, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. A brother, a friend, even your younger self if he could watch you now. Because the truth is, the more men that step into this level of self-respect, the better the world gets. The dating game shifts, the quality of women you attract changes, and the chaos you once chased, it starts chasing you. So if you're ready to be that man, let it be known. Like this. Comment, share it, spread the message, and never forget, she doesn't fall for what you give her. She falls for what you refuse to give away too easily. Now walk with that energy and let the world adjust.